What if I told you this regular cardboard box could take you on all sorts of adventures as long as you use your imagination? You probably would not believe me, but in the episode Idiot Box, this is exactly what a cardboard box does. This episode starts with Patrick and Spongebob chilling, waiting for something. Then Patrick puts his glasses on, and we get a very funny, disturbing shot of human eyes looking through these cups. Anyways, they're waiting on the mailman. And once they see him, they start getting down, like really getting into it. Then of course, our beloved Karen Squidward starts instantly judging their dances. Maybe because he dances like this. The mailman though drops off a box, and they continue dancing for another 30 seconds. Also, Squidward must be really bored because he is very invested in SpongeBob and Patrick right now, and now is making fun of what is theoretically in the box. But turns out they got a huge TV, which makes him extremely jealous. But they literally just toss it in the garbage and hop in the box. Squidward though, having nothing better to do, decides to confront them on the fact they ordered a TV just for the box. Then he calls them idiots. Idiot box. But SpongeBob claps back, explaining that they don't need television because they have imagination, which is probably one of SpongeBob's most iconic moments. It was also a huge meme, and also I can't lie, there's been so many times I quoted this and threw my hands in the air looking goofy. Squidward though wasn't the biggest fan of this iconic moment and just asks if he can have the TV, and SpongeBob tries once again to push this imagination concept, explaining you can be whatever you want and do whatever you want. But Squidward really does not care and asks for the TV again, and SpongeBob says that he can have it, and so he starts scooting it towards his house, while SpongeBob tries for the third time to convince him about using his imagination, which is actually a very important moment, and I'll explain why later. Anyway, Patrick says that they should play Mountain Climbing Adventure, and they close the box. And here's where the episode starts getting crazy. So after closing the box, we start hearing them roleplay the mountain climbing, but we hear actual sound effects, as if SpongeBob and Patrick were legitimately climbing a mountain, and not just in a literal cardboard box. Squidward doesn't really pay much mind to the fact that all these sounds are coming from the box, and puts his new television in his house, then grabs the remote from outside. But since the remote was next to the box, he can't help but start to get curious about what is going on. Pretty much SpongeBob is yelling at Patrick to keep his voice down because they might start an avalanche. Of course, Squidward thinks that this is all baloney, so he kicks the box so they can shut up. And because of this kick, he causes the avalanche, and we hear an actual explosion, along with the disturbing sounds of SpongeBob and Patrick screaming. Squidward, even though he thinks that they're idiots and this is probably not real, genuinely feels bad, and you can't really blame him. Those screams sounded so legit, especially with the literal explosion sound effects, so he taps the box to check on them and causes another avalanche. This got him really tweaking out, and this is kind of sweet to be honest. As much as Squidward hates these guys' guts, he really cares about them, which is also important for the theory I'm going to talk about at the end of the episode. Anyways, things start getting insane. Because of the second avalanche Squidward caused, Patrick needs to cut off his legs, and SpongeBob already cut off his arms. Squidward cannot help himself, so he opens a box to make sure that they are okay. And bro, they are literally just sitting in an empty box, chilling. This obviously confuses Squidward, so he asks how they're making those noises, and they have literally no idea what he's talking about. Now it seems they are gaslighting Squidward, because obviously we heard the noises, but it's not really in SpongeBob's character to lie to Squidward. Kinda confusing, but we'll unpack this later. Squidward though just tells him to forget it since they won't fess up, and decides to go enjoy his brand new television. But then a chopper flies above him, but it's not actually a real chopper. It's coming from the box again. So Squidward opens the box again, trying to catch them in the act, but once again, they're just sitting in an empty cardboard box. Squidward now is really starting to get fed up, and asks once again how in the world they are making the noises, and this time they explain it's just having a box and imagination. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised that Squidward is not shocked about the fact SpongeBob is just spawning a rainbow. But anyway, Squidward being Squidward gets all competitive and says he has more imagination than them, but when he says it, no rainbow spawns, which symbolizes that he definitely does not have more imagination. And if that wasn't enough proof, Squidward, by the way, with a brand new television, starts searching everywhere for a box, then has a very awkward moment in the box until he hears cops outside. And you guessed it, ain't no cops outside. This sound was once again coming from the box, which makes him mad. Squidward now just wants to stop obsessing over what is going on, so he finally enjoys his television. But weirdly, every single channel is about boxes, to the point where he's watching a boxing match between two literal cardboard boxes. Now this is another important part, because truthfully, why would these channels actually exist? This makes me think Squidward is genuinely going crazy, because the probability of even two channels being about boxes is rare, but every single one is odd. This idea of distracting himself with a television obviously does not work, and he hears a rocket taking off outside and starts to overthink how this is even possible. And the thought he comes up with is that SpongeBob and Patrick are making it their mission to toy with him and have a tape recorder. So he confronts them about the theoretic tape recorder, and they kindly say they do not have one, and I believe them. Squidward does too, so he caves in and goes into the box to get first-hand experience about what happens in here. And I want you to really pay attention to this part, because it's a very important clue in the investigation of what is going going on. So SpongeBob explains to Squidward he just has to use his imagination, and Squidward says how he wants to go to a robot pirate island, and so the adventure starts, but it's very underwhelming. SpongeBob and Patrick just close their eyes. Patrick goes beep beep boop boop, and SpongeBob goes arr. No sound effects, no music, just two kids literally imagining things in their head. This either showing that SpongeBob and Patrick did this on purpose to gaslight Squidward, or he's genuinely losing it. Squidward though, even after seeing this, cannot let it go and starts pacing, wondering how they are doing it. Also, there are sound effects now that he's out of the box. He then decides that he's going to wait until they go to bed. So Squidward, having absolutely no life, sits in his chair until nighttime, and SpongeBob and Patrick finally go to bed. So he hops in the box, and all he sees is a written letter on notebook paper that is supposed to be the reward they got from the robot pirate adventure. Besides that though, there really is nothing else in the box. It's literally just a box. Squidward then realizes it must really be just imagination. So Squidward locks in and imagines that he is driving, and sound effects start happening. He's actually doing it. The box is magic. Well, actually, a garbage man's picking up the box, and that's where the sound effects are coming from. He's having the time of his life though, and SpongeBob hears this and actually gets really happy for him, which shows that SpongeBob had no bad intentions this entire time, because he has no reason to fake this alone in his bedroom. Anyways, Squidward gets dumped in the dump and gets his face smushed in some pie. Now, since we know firsthand there was nothing in this box and it was genuinely just imagination, what was really going on? Well, I'm not going to take full credit for the theory, but I will deep dive into it. So I searched on Reddit what was going on, and the user Mikey Fresh explained that the sound effects aren't being played by a tape recorder, are being magically created by SpongeBob and Patrick, but simply a hallucination Squidward is having. Pretty much Squidward is losing his mind and becomes obsessed with the box, and the sounds he is hearing are symptoms of his psychosis. Now let's really unpack this theory. So from the beginning of the episode, we can tell Squidward was insanely bored, which is why he was spying on SpongeBob and Patrick and getting enjoyment from making fun of them. This is the classic bullying trope. I'm sad, so I bully people. Squidward may seem like he enjoys being alone, but no one really wants to be alone. This being the exact reason Squidward has never actually moved away from SpongeBob and Patrick. I mean, in the episode where he actually moved away, he became insanely depressed. This showing what Squidward quote unquote hates SpongeBob and Patrick, they make his life more entertaining and not as dull. And there are many moments where we can tell he cares for SpongeBob. I mean, even in this episode, when Squidward thought SpongeBob and Patrick were dying in the fake avalanche, he started to freak out, showing that he deep down really loves these guys. So pretty much what I am saying is that Squidward was alone and bored, and it was at an all-time high in this episode. He was getting extreme FOMO, fear of missing out, in this episode, and it was sad that SpongeBob and Patrick were having fun, and that they have each other, while he has literally no one. Because of this intense feeling of loneliness and jealousy, he started to create those sound effects in his head, just straight up losing it. Anyway, that's the theory. This episode though was genuinely amazing. It's such a simple episode, but also so entertaining. It really shows off how talented the writers are, that they can make an engaging, entertaining episode with a simple set of just Squidward's house and outside his house, as well as literally focusing the episode around a cardboard box. They immerse you into the imagination of SpongeBob and Patrick. While there is acting and sound effects and music, all we're seeing is a cardboard box. So it makes us as viewers have to use our imagination, and I love that. And I think more shows should allow us to use our imagination, since most kids honestly do not read books anymore. This episode was so memorable, and it's so funny just watching Squidward be so defeated and losing it, and watching the defeat on his face every time he opens the box and just sees SpongeBob and Patrick just simply sitting. It's hilarious every single time. This episode honestly nails Squidward torture. I talk about this a lot, but there's a lot of episodes that do Squidward torture so bad, but this one did it so perfect, because in this episode, Squidward pretty much tortures himself. It never feels like the writers are targeting him and just hurting him for slapstick haha laughs. This episode makes him feel like such a real character, to the point that you can come up with theories of him going crazy, instead of just simply saying the writers just wanted to bully him. It's just great. It's a fun episode, it's entertaining, it has a great conflict and a great mystery. Anyway, that's the episode on Imagination Box.